We are honored to welcome Zaina El-Said, a Jordan-based Circassian digital collage artist whose work explores mythology, identity, cultural memory, and forgotten elements of ancient folklore. Through contemporary visual narratives, she builds bridges between ancestral heritage and modern artistic expression. Her work has been exhibited internationally in biennales and art festivals and is included in both public and private collections, including the Durham University Museum and the United Kingdom and the Aga Khan Museum in Canada. She will discuss how art can serve as a powerful medium for preserving folklore, memory, and cultural identity. Zaina, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Lydia. Thank you for having me today. I'm just gonna
Thank
share
you for
my
being here.
screen,
Yes,
and I don't
muted
know
my
if you can
son.
see my. Oh, sorry. Hold on, just a second.
Mhm.
Okay. So thank you, Lydia, for the nice introduction, and it's a pleasure to meet all of you. I'm a digital collage artist. I'm Circassian, based in Jordan, and I belong to the Jordan diaspora. Um, Collage art, I don't know if how many of you are familiar with collage. We always hear about collage, which it's originally a French word that literally translates to pasting on each other. So collage is basically it's organizing a body of artwork created from different elements belonging to completely different sources. So there's manual collage and there's digital collage. I started off with manual collage and then slowly started getting into digital collage. And if you can see here the picture, these are different elements that create the body of artwork. So as you can see, all these elements, they they, they turn into a single visual narrative. And I'd like to share how the process how I do the collage process. So originally this photo of this individual, for example, and it's turned into a whole body of narrative of different elements, different ideas, mostly and predominantly belong to Circassian culture, Circassian history, and mythology, Nart sagas, uh, and ancient history as well. So this is another example of how the original picture is and how it turned out. So these different elements that create a visual narrative. And another example here. So why did I choose collage, or why did collage appeal to me the most? To start with, I started doing collage about 15 years ago. And what initially drew me to collage is it resembled the diaspora disposition. We're fragmented and there are many elements to us to create our whole character. For example, I live in Jordan, but I'm also Circassian. I speak Arabic, but I also represent a culture that is totally different from the Arab world. And I belong someone else. So all these eclectic contradicting ideas uh, created this appeal for me into creating collage out of different elements, different image sources. Um, yeah, so like me, it reflects what what my disposition is and the diaspora disposition as well. In diaspora, when I first started doing art, the first thing that I was interested in doing art was about my my people, my history, and the culture that represents me or where I feel connected to. In diaspora, we have this very romantic idea about the homeland, especially because uh, when you're away from a homeland, and especially during a time where communication was not very available, you tend to build this romantic idea towards the homeland. So growing up in the 70s, 80s, and up until the 90s, we hardly had any contact with the homeland, and we never knew, just from stories of our grandparents or the elderly who often spoke about the homeland, but we have no idea what it was. Um, but we did know that we are in a different place because of a war. 1864 was mostly what we identified with, and how we knew that we were different from other people as as a result of this long vicious war that continued for over 100 years against the Russians. So most of our um, identity, characters, and our idea of the homeland is basically inherited stories from the elderly, like I mentioned. It's nothing that we have experienced ourselves. So what happened was, as I was translating my ideas of the homeland into art, they often became these fantastical stories of this almost like a utopia, um, where heroes and valiant warriors, gods and demigods, roamed this paradise-like country. So as I delved into the history, and growing up and trying to understand myself more and understand my community, um, I wasn't. I wanted to know more about who I am. So beyond 1864, 21st of May, who am I? Why am I here? And how am I different? If it's just the war that defined me, or this war that my great grandfather um, participated in and ended up with us ending up in diaspora. Well, who are we beyond 1864? And this is when I started um, opening up and trying to understand. I slowly started remembering as residues of stories from. I was fortunate enough uh, to see my great grandfather and some members of his era, and my grandfather as well, talking about different elements of Circassian culture. Some of them was rain supplication rituals. Some of them tree veneration rituals. Some of them about the North sagas, of course. So as I slowly started delve to um, some history, and I started reading the North sagas, which is like the counterpart of Norse mythology to the Scandinavian, and it opened up a window to see a different worldview of who Circassians are. So we're not only 1864. 1864 is just a tiny part of a civilization that goes back to 3,000 years. So this is when I began translating more and going beyond 1864. The narrative of being a victim wasn't it wasn't really feasible in a world where modern technology and advancement and progress, and um, um, it wasn't fitting in the modern narrative. So breaking away from the modern from exile narratives, I started to go back um, into the ancient history and started to kind of like digging up like in archaeology, uh, trying to find elements, pieces to put the puzzle together. And through that, I was able to understand um, who am I in this vast world, and who am I as a Circassian, that I too also have a civilization and a culture and a language that counterparts um, other civilizations and other cultures as well. And additionally, that my civilization, my culture, um, was a very prominent aspect and part of the ancient world, um, interacting with ancient Egypt, Sumerians, ancient Hittites. So it became like a process of slowly understanding that uh, we have something beyond what I originally thought. I simply was a product of a war with a different language, but we live in the Arab world. So, of these interesting and very valuable cultural elements that I try to focus on is animism, um, tree veneration, um, rain supplication rituals, the Circassian New Year, of course, astronomical aspects of how the Circassians had a connection with astronomy and how it affected their lives and the harvest, um, in addition to a lot of aspects beyond that. In addition to all these types of rituals, I was particularly interested in the hunt, the language of the hunt, where the Circassians have a very ancient ritual when they go hunting. Um, they usually wear a mask, which, if you can see in the middle picture, and this this type of wearing the mask ritual, which is basically you become equal to your prey. And they used to, um, before entering into the forest, they used to ask for forgiveness, um, and wear the mask and speak a very different language unknown to humans. And they used to enter, uh, not hunting an elderly animal or hunting a nursing mother, and it had certain rituals. So becoming acquainted with this worldview gave me a better chance to highlight it became more highlighted in my work. And I was fortunate enough, like I said, there were a lot of residues from old stories that my grandparents used to tell me, which started becoming more evident, as such as tree veneration and shape-shifting, things that they were able to, or they claimed to be able to do during the olden times. And all of these rituals and cultural elements are slowly now becoming dissolved under, how can I say, under the influence of monotheistic religions. So most of these cultural aspects of ancient, these ancient rituals are now sadly become um, more neglected, in order to, yeah, being more open about it, versus, let's say, religion, or in front of other religions as well, as being blasphemous or as being something that cannot be spoken about or tabooed. Um, so yes, basically through visual storytelling, I attempt to revive echoes of forgotten rituals and reconnect with the worldview that may have once shaped the Circassian imagination. These are some samples of the god of forest and the goddesses of forest, Mazitha, and Mazguasha. And they both were a very dominant and prominent element of the olden world. And in that, I try to build a bridge between what was and the contemporary world. Whereas for us not to forget who we are, but in order to present it in a way that can fit the modern world. Or, for example, to have the upcoming generation connect to what was and understand it in a way that they can as well have a base or a column, a foundation for them to be able to interact with other cultures and other world views and other folk cultures as well. So, like I said, it's not an attempt to reconstruct the past as it once was, but to explore the cultural memory, mythology, and the worldview that continue to shape Circassian identity today. Through digital collage, I seek to reconnect fragments of ancestral knowledge and create new visual narratives that allow these stories to endure, evolve, and remain meaningful for future generations. So I think this is it for me. And I don't know if you have any questions. I'm very happy to answer.
Thank you so much, Zaina. These images that
Thank
you
you.
have created are so
Thank you.
moving. Yeah,
Thank you.
and
Thank you. Thank
yeah,
you.
thank you.